Well, here we are again. It's Friday, the 16th of December or January 2026, and I hope everybody had a great week. And as many of you know, if you've been following the auction market, a lot of stuff turned up this week on Live Auctioneers, right on time, and on Invaluable other sites. There were several auctions that took place this week. We're going to touch on those. They all did really well. Chinese things did fine, and the American furniture market. We just watched the last bit of the 2-day sale at New England Auction Gallery down in Connecticut. We did a preview on that a couple of weeks ago. The sale did great. We're going to go through some of the highlights of it. Stair Gallery's back with a whole bunch of sale. Freeman's has a sale. Doyle has a sale. There are others, and we're going to go through some of the things that are coming up, and then talk about some of the results for the last week. And it all looks very good. I think there's some pretty good optimism in the antique and auction market on all levels. Also, the Michael Grogan sale that we did the video on the other day, that just wrapped up just a few minutes ago, the second day. The sale did great. They had some spectacular results. The carpets in the sale were quite excellent. If you watch the video, we went through them. They were very fine examples, and the estimates proved to be pretty accurate. As far as estimates go, I think they did a really, really good job. A number of the things went way over their estimates, which always happens in sales, but in general, it was fine. And we're going to take a look and see what's coming up, and then we'll take a look at some results at the end. So stick around for that, and let's see what's going on. Oh, Sikes. Remember a few months ago, Caza Sikes out in Ohio had a sale of some Chinese Ming blue and white wares, and none of them were earth-shattering $1 million pieces and all that, but they were all authentic, all very, very nice. They came from a collection that had been exhibited in the 60s and in the 1980s. It was a fairly large collection, a lot of Sung through late Ming mostly. That's what most of the sales have had in them. In this part 2 sale that's coming up, there's some really nice examples of in many categories, including celadons, hare's fur bowls, blue and white pieces. There's a couple of very nice Annalise pieces in here and so forth. We're going to go through some of it, but do check the sale out. The sale date is let's get over to one of the things, the 28th. You're going to hear a lot of sales, by the way, today. They're all taking place between the 28th and the 29th of this month for some reason. I don't know why. It seems to be a real, almost a log jam of auctions taking place. But this is one of these Hongxi Ming bowls. There were a lot of them in the last sale, if you recall. They had quite a few of them. They have quite a few of them in this sale. They all had this one has a $300 to $500 estimate. It's going to bring more than that, just so you know. It'll probably bring $1,500 to $2,000. This is a very nice one, though, with the Phoenix on it. And I believe there are 2 in this sale of this pattern, which makes it rather interesting. It measures a little over 12 inches in diameter, looks to be in good condition. So if you're a collector of Ming blue and white, you definitely want to check this sale out. And we're going to get to the Stair Gallery in a minute. The Stair Gallery has a sale coming up, and there's a lot of material in that was acquired from Robert McPherson, the dealer over in the EU. And he's, as a lot of you know, he's a very fine dealer. He's one of the best dealers in the world. He's been around for a long time, and some great examples there. We'll get to those in a little bit. At any rate, there's this, and then this is in the sale. This is an Annalise 15th or 16th century blue and white elephant porcelain, sort of a teapot, I guess is what it is, or a wine pot. And it's fairly large. It's bigger than you might think. It's 9 inches long. It's a good sized pot. I think it's terrific. I love this thing. I think it's fascinating. It's unusual. You see animal forms coming out in Annalise porcelains. You don't see elephants very often. You just don't. And I think this is a pretty rare thing. If you like rare things, you might have a shot at it because nobody's going to be able to find any comps for it. If you go looking for comparables to this particular form, you're going to look for a long time. You might find it in some auction over in the EU or in somewhere in the US has happened, but it's going to be a long look. But this is a wonderful thing. The estimate is $300 to $500. I think personally it should bring a couple of $1,000s. We'll see. I think it's a great thing. I really do. And then over to this, there's this Zijou ware paper cut resist decorated tea bowl. There are a number of them in this sale. There are a number of them. I'm going to go back here for a minute and scroll down. hold on a second. I think this is the last page of the sale. There's also some rank badges in the sale. And if you come over to page 1, there we go. Scroll down. There they are. Here are a bunch of the paper cut and resist decorated bowls. There are a number of them, and then you've got some John wares. You've got some streaked John Hare's fur bowls. There's a lot of them. They all look fine. They all look fine. So if you've been looking for a good piece of this material, you might want to check it out. You might want to check it out. All right. And then after that is this, a very nice Zizhou vase. And this is probably Song to Yuan dynasty example. It's pretty rare type, actually. And it's estimated at, I think, $300 to $500 also. Yeah, it's going to bring more than that. It's going to probably sell for, these are the past, we've seen them sell for $3,000 to $5,000. Whether that one gets there or not, I don't know. Sometimes they bring even more depending on the interest of the crowd. And a lot of them tip a little bit. You'll notice this one's got a tip to it. There's one in the Metropolitan Museum that's very, very similar, incidentally. And it also tips a little bit. I guess it was an issue with these bowls, maybe with the wide part at the bottom being maybe a little heavy, and in the kiln it tipped just slightly. It's sort of a normal occurrence on them. And what's the size of this? 8 inches or so. Oh, they didn't bother with the they put height in, but don't they put the number in there. I'll send them a note later and say you want to add the height to that. It's probably 6 or 8 inches. That's typically what they are. But it's a very nice thing. And also some very good Qingbai. If you're a Qingbai collector, there's a number of good Qingbai examples. This one struck me as being particularly pretty. A footed cup on a footed stand. It appears to be the correct stand for it. It appears to be perhaps the original one. You'd have to examine it in person to be absolutely certain the way it fits. But it looks pretty good, and the color is good all the way around, and it's a fairly rare type. And there are other examples in here. There are teapots. There's a whole bunch of them. So it's worth checking out. The estimate is nothing, $200 to $300. It's going to bring more than that. It'll bring probably $1,200 to $1,500, I would suspect, somewhere around there. And then there's this, a pair of Qingbai vases on stands. These are lovely. These are really nice examples. And they have some relief work decoration on them, as you can see. I like the handles, these big flange handles on it, with the rings on them and so forth. And these measure, I think, around 9 inches in height, or smaller. 6 and 7, 8, almost 7 inches in height. They're estimated at just $200 to $300. They will go over that, probably to the $1,200 to $1,600 range. Pairs of Qingbai pieces are like of this quality. These are very good quality. Are kind of hard to come by, so don't be surprised if it gets going in a strong way. It's already got 20 people watching it, but if you're looking for a good piece of Qingbai, these are good also. All of them are pretty good looking. So check out the sale. It's Caza Sikes. They had very good results last time. There are all the Qingbai pieces. There's also some excellent celadons. In particular, I mentioned this one on we did a video yesterday over on Patreon. This Celadon, Longquan Celadon bowl. This bowl is much bigger than it looks. It's 12 inches in diameter. It looks like it's about 5 or 6 inches in diameter. It's not. It's much larger than that. It's over 12 inches. It's beautifully done. It's got a very interesting interior, nicely worked. There's a reflection on the back that looks like damage. It's not. It's just a reflection. Here's the interior. Deeply done. Very rich color. Really rich color. And the estimate, again, is just $200 to $300. It's going to go way over that. It's probably going to bring $2,000 or $3,000, I would think, because it's a fairly rare type. And you don't see them that often in this size. And the other thing that there is in here also are toward the end of the sale are a whole lot. You have more celadons. There's that wonderful elephant again. But there's a lot of blue and white bowls. If you're a bowl collector and you like Ming bowls, and they've got them, some of them are in lots of 3 to 5 of them, and they all look perfectly fine from what I could see. Here's one with that famous honeycomb pattern. You get sort of three different examples of it. Nicely done. You want to get condition reports, of course, because I noticed there's a monk's cap or a Ming Dynasty blue and white piece in here. It's a small one, but it does have a repair to it. I don't know about these. These look like they're probably okay. And then you've got all these other small pieces. You got some more Ming blue and white. You got some more Hongxi pieces down here. You've got a bunch of jarlets. If you've been looking for some good jarlets, there's a bunch of them in the sale. But as you can see, there's a lot of Ming blue and white in the sale. Also, these ewers. All right, very very nice examples, and on it goes, and on and on and on. So do check that out if you've been looking for some things to get into to start the year. All righty, now over to this. Is this Freeman's? Yeah, this is the Freeman's sale on the 28th. Also, it's a decorative sale, but there's some very good Chinese export in there. There's some nice. It's all China trade porcelain in the sale. They have other things they're selling, but all the Chinese stuff is China trade. And there's these. These are exceptional. Very very fine pair of 18th century armorial open salts for the table, for the dining table, but they're armorial, and they look to be in beautiful condition. They apparently have a Christie's tag on them from a previous sale. If you want to find out whose crest it is, you can get out Howard's book and look it up. There's a good illustration here that'll help you find it, and they are estimated at $800 to $1,200, which seems actually low. We'll see. But I've noticed in the last few years, salts have been sort of weak, so it's probably if you've been wanting to buy them, I would suggest you do it now, because if this Chinese export stuff comes back in, develops any strength as the American furniture market starts to regain interest in the English furniture market and the European, once furniture starts to become popular, Chinese export wares are going to be following very, very quickly, and a fine pair of open salts like this are going to sell for $2,000-$3,000. The prices are going to go up a lot because people are going to want them, especially if you have a dining room done all in antique furniture. And then over to Doyle's, they have this. They've got 2 Rockefeller pattern plates coming up on the 29th of the month, the day after the 28th, and these are very nice. They measure about 9 inches in diameter. They appear to be in wonderful condition. So if you've been looking for a pair of plates, here they are. The estimate is $1,500 to $2,500, and as we all know, we've seen these in the past sell, and the implied value there is that each plate is worth somewhere between $750 and $1,200, which seems completely reasonable given past prices on these over the years, and even recently, some of them have done very well. And then hopping along over to this. Now, this is coming up at MBA Seattle, and they get some good things out there from time to time, but they also misidentify things. And this is being offered as a Chinese Amari covered jar with rooster finial. And as many of you know right away, it's not Chinese. This is a Japanese Arita piece or Amari piece, either way you could look at it. It measures 11.5 inches tall. It's got its lid, which is quite unusual for these jars. And this is a late 17th century example. All right, to maybe early 18th, but very possibly late 17th century. It's a very nice pot, and the estimate on it is just $100 to $300, $30 opening bid. It's a nice piece of Japanese Amari. So if you've been looking for to add to your Amari collection, you go after this, because people who are searching for Chinese Amari are going to come to this and will know immediately that it's not Chinese, it's Japanese, and they're going to move on. So it may not get a lot of support. This sale is on January 22nd. It's in about 5 days. So get over to MBA and give it a look. All right, and then this is coming up at there's a New Orleans auction galleries down in New Orleans has a sale coming. They've got some very nice China trade pieces in it, including, I think they're the ones that have a really good cider jug. Late 18th century China trade cider jug with enormous handles on it. But this plate with the ship on it struck me as being wonderful. It's a charger. It's a plate. It's a regular plate. Excuse me. It measures 9 3/4 inches, but it's extremely fine. It's a very lovely example. If you've been looking for something like this, I don't know the flag of the ship. It looks like it might be Norway or something. You can always look it up. But this is a heck of a nice plate. $500 to $800 estimate, $400 opening bid. All right, and then what else is going on here? This is also in the sale. This is also on New Orleans, I believe, right? Yep, New Orleans auctions. And this is a nice late 18th. They're dating this They're calling this early 20th century. And boy, it doesn't look it to me. I think this is a late 18th to early 19th century example in this pattern. This is one of those celadon ground vases, the way the handles are done and so forth. In the Republic period, if that's what they're implying, these were not popularly made in this style at that time, but they were made in the late 18th, early 19th century. So if you have a mind, you might want to go get some extra pictures of it just to double check, maybe a couple of close-ups, but it certainly looks to be much earlier than 20th century. The estimate is 600 to 900 with a $400 opening bid. It's 29 inches tall overall, I'm assuming, with the shade. The shade is very nice, incidentally. I would keep this as a table lamp. It's very elegant. And that shade is, that looks like a custom shade. If that's a custom shade, probably cost around $500. So you got to sort of think of it that way. Good shades are very expensive to have made for objects. Decorators use them mostly. There was a shade shop in Boston years ago. I can't think of her name. She was sort of famous for them. Blanche Field, I think was her name. And her shades in the 80s cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They were very, very expensive. Beautifully made, though. Beautifully made. But, craftsmanship is expensive. At any rate, so you want to go to check that out. And then this is coming up at Stair Gallery. Stair's got some very interesting stuff coming up on the 28th of this month, included in it. And a lot of the stuff was bought from McPherson's. I don't know if this was, but this is apparently a lot of this is from the Miller collection. I don't know who they were. This was bought from Anita Gray over in London in 2004. She's another very good dealer. If you don't know of Anita, look her up. She sells great. She's very, very sharp on blue and white wares. She's very sharp on all of it, but she's got a very nice reputation, and she's like Bob McPherson, well regarded in the trade. And there's this. Now, what's really great about this bowl is that these big Wanli bowls. This is a fairly large bowl. It's like 14. How big is this? 14 1/4 inches in diameter. This is a big bowl. And you see them all the time in Dutch paintings and so forth. You see them on tables with a rug on the table, and there'll be fruit coming out of it, and all these artists used to paint them. And you see them often in European paintings. But this is a very big one, and it doesn't have any hairlines in it. Very often, 90% of the time when you see these bowls of this size, they have hairlines in them. Because they're so big, they're so prone to them. This one does not. According to the description, it has no hairlines, no repairs, no issues. So it makes it quite a great bowl, and no chips apparently. And so the estimate is going to get blown to pieces. It's if you can buy it for the estimate, you got the bargain of the year. It's an $800 to $1,200 bowl with hairlines in them. These bowls typically sell with a couple of hairlines, running down the body. These will sell for $1,200 to $1,500, somewhere in that range. But assuming that the hairline impacts the value by at least 50% and probably closer to 70%. So this bowl conceivably could sell for $3,000 to $4,000, maybe more. Undamaged big cracked bowls like this are very rare, very hard to come by. Now, hopping over to this is also in the sale. Very nice Dewa. This came from McPherson, I believe. Very nice Dewa 17th century Blanc de Chine censer. Beautiful example, and many of you that could buy Blanc de Chine, there's a number of Blanc de Chine pieces here. I've seen these before. They're very attractive. And what's the estimate on this? $700 to $900. That's on the low side. It should bring $1,800 to $2,500, somewhere in that price range. It's a beautiful example. And again, this is on the 28th of January. Also, this vase, this is a Dewa vase. These are kind of rare. Also 17th century, probably. And it measures 8 1/4 inches tall. And do they say where it came from? They don't say where this one came from. Maybe it didn't have a sticker on it anymore. But whoever this collector is, they seem to shop with the very best dealers. And here it is with the foot, very fine white clay, typical of Dewa examples. The estimate is just $800 to $1,200. This is also appears to be a 17th century example. Expect it to go for probably $1,000 to $1,500, maybe more. It may go for $2,000 to $2,500 because it's an unusual form. It's an unusual shape. You may maybe try to look it up get a price comparison over at Christie's or Sotheby's or Bonham's on their results list and see if you could find one. But if you can't, that's sort of what my thoughts are on it. And then over to the next one is this. This is a nice lot. This is also at Stair Gallery. You've got this very nice uh, Kangxi period enameled and underglazed blue decorated dish. A very attractive little spinach and egg pattern Mei Ping vase. I believe this has a Yongchen mark on it. I don't think it's Yongchen. I think it's probably later, but very nice. You got this 12th century vase. You've got these two pricket sticks here and a Buddha. So it's a great little lot. And the estimate 700 to 900. It's worth all of that. Maybe 1,000 or well. I think that little Mei Ping is probably worth around 400. 400 or 500. The plate's probably worth another 300 or 400 anyway. The pair of sticks are probably worth 300 to 400. And the Buddha's worth 100 anyway, maybe more, depending on the age. It's hard to tell by the age on that one. And you have this Mei Ping vase, this other vase with it looks to be Sung, and it's got a nice glaze on it, probably another 800. So there's some value there. If you're a dealer, you know what to do. You buy it, you break it up, keep the piece you like, and sell the rest. And then over here, this is a nice lot also. There's several good lots in there. I'm kind of surprised they didn't break them up. You got the Zizhu plate in the middle. Looks like about a $1,500 plate. And then you've got these nice little pieces, including this beehive formed early Qing, late Ming to early Qing coupe. You've got this nice looking, probably Yuan figure. And then you've got this piece of white glazed pottery, probably also Yuan, Sung to Yuan. Another example, Sung to Yuan. This is an early lot. There's nice early pieces in here, and the estimate is for nothing. The estimate is just $400 to $600. Obviously, there's a value there, and if you collect early ceramics, you might want to chase this down for going $1,500 $2,000 would it all be an unreasonable price for this, even more. All right, and then you get in here. This is also at Stair Gallery. Japanese blue and white, early Japanese blue and white, also from Robert McPherson. I think most of it. Very fine examples. A lot of 17th century blue and white in here. Love the plate on the right. Very wonderful deep blue color. And the bird, the breast of the bird seems to have like copper red on it, which is a very rare plate. If that's yeah, it is. It's copper red. It's a very rare plate. Very, very rare and unusual. And then you have this ewer in the front. These are all 17th century Arita wares. Very lovely, beautiful examples. Estimated at just $600 to $800. It should probably double or triple that estimate. It's very, very nice. And there's another lot of Arita wares. This is even a bigger one. They're also, for the most part, early. I think a couple of them might be, down at the bottom here, might be 18th century, but I also see some very nice 17th century examples in here. This is a lot of 5 dishes and 2 plates. So 7 pieces, estimated at just $400 to $600. That's sort of a no-brainer. The lot should bring 12 to 1,500, somewhere around there. If it doesn't, you got a heck of a buy in your hands. And then hopping along, this is one of the most interesting lots. So there's a number of them here, but this is a very interesting pair of Japanese Kekiemon whitewares, and these are rare. These are quite rare. And let's see here, they came from Bob McPherson again. And it's got this white glaze. It's called what is it called? Nigashita. Hold on. See what there's a sticker that says it. Nigashita. There it is. That just means milk white. It means it's the color of the plate. But the Kakeemon, early Kakeemon wares that were done in white, they did these colors. It is a very rare type. They were made. The label from McPherson's dates them right on the money. 1670 to 1690. These are beautiful, and the estimate is nothing. $400 to $600. The one on the left, obviously, a lot of people look at it and say it looks Chinese because the Chinese did use this pattern, obviously. But they noticed the flowers in here. The Japanese, in typical Japanese style, added a few extra elements. But in the Qing dynasty later on, around the Yuan dynasty and the Qianlong period, they used very similarly shaped bowls themselves and plates, and did them in monochromes rather famously. The Bauer collection over in Switzerland has some really fine examples of the Chinese pieces. Anyway, 4 to 600. Each of these plates is probably worth 5 to 7, 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. So the estimate is very low at 4 to 600. And then you have some more Kakeyamon type dishes here. Again, very, very fine quality. $600 to $800 estimate. Well worth it. These are nice pieces. I like the faceted. I like all three pieces. Very attractive, and they should make short work of that estimate at $600 to $800. Right now, it has one bidder, and I'll add myself to the watcher list there. Now it has two. These may go very reasonably. And then there's a very nice Dewa Kuan Yin with a child. This looks to be a 17th or early 18th century example. This also came from McPherson, I believe. Very creamy glaze, nicely done, nice reflection of the glaze, good depth of the glaze. And these earlier examples have they're not always as snow white as you typically think of as Blanc de Chine. Some of them are, but when you get into the figural pieces where they applied the glazes a little thicker, sometimes they have almost an ivory. It's like a ivory, slightly toned color to them, and they look like this. But this one looks absolutely fine. It's a very fine quality piece. It measures 6 inches tall. It's a nice size. That's a good size. It was bought, again, the Miller collection. So I don't know who the Millers were, but they bought nice things. And then there's this early 18th century blue and white Kengshi dish. Brown glazed cup and saucer with resist brown work around the outside, where they apply a decoration through a wax coating, and then they dip it, and the brown fills in around it, and you left with the white areas of the glaze underneath showing through. It's sort of a reverse technique. And this is from Bob McPherson, nice little saucer, and here's that plate. This was originally, apparently, at some point, it was sold by Geoffrey Waters over in London, and then went to McPherson. And here you can see that decoration. You can actually see what's really great about this one. You can actually see an edge that has actually some depth to it on the resist technique they use to glaze this thing. So they would apply the wax. So you understand, they apply wax to this, and then they cut away all of the areas they want to have brown. So they clean all that off, and they leave just the wax covering the areas they're going to do in white. So they carve out the floral forms, get rid of the brown, the areas that they want brown, and then they dip it. The brown glaze will not stick to where the wax is. So it only sticks to the paste of the porcelain. So they end up with this very clean finish. And this one is particularly clean. I'll say this is one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. It's beautifully, beautifully done. You want to get a condition report on all of these, but this is a heck of a nice thing, and it's a very interesting technique. So how they're made, it's a really fascinating part of the technology. Now, getting into some results for the week. I had a lot of inquiries about this brush pot on the identification service that we have over on Bidamount, and I had lots and lots and lots of inquiries. People were wondering if it was really Kangxi, because they had presented it with a most likely Kangxi period $2,500 opening bid with a $5,000 to $7,000 estimate, which would have been low if it was authentic. And my feeling on it was that it wasn't. I had some real doubts about the age of this thing, and I hadn't seen it in person. But from what I could see, the way the bottom of it looked, the finish, the way the edges, what they tried to do some fritting along here. That's manufactured. That looks like manufactured fritting to me, where they just take something and sort of tap it sporadically around the rim to knock off a little bit of glaze to sort of work it out. And it didn't sell. So and it had a lot of watchers. It had 52 watchers. It didn't go. So that tells us that there's something wrong, because were this authentic, it would have brought 15 or 20,000, maybe even more. Maybe we've seen some of these sell for 30,000, and this one didn't get off the ground at 2,500. So there's your answer. All right, and then this sold over at Stair this week. We talked about it in the preview, I think last week, or it was on the Patreon video, one of them. Anyway, it did exactly kind of what we thought it would bring. It was estimated modestly at 7 to 9, and we thought the hammer price would be around probably 9 to 1,200, and so it ended up going rather strongly because we had the buyer's premium in the buyer's premium in, of course, it pushes it up by another 30%. So it ended up going for about $1,500 or so dollars. But it's a nice example. It's a very standard type. It's a form that you see often. This decoration, this pattern, you also see on big plates fairly often and other things. But it was sort of a production pattern, but it was very popular in the West. A lot of people made table lamps out of these for obvious reasons. And it was 12 and a half inches tall. Nice piece of porcelain though. And these I think was sort of a bargain. It was the pair of Mandarin palette 1780s vases with the chimeras on the shoulders. These were 11 or 12 inches tall. Last week, when I was talking, I think I mentioned them last week, I thought they might have been the big ones, the ones that were 16 or 17 inches tall, which they also did. They weren't. They were the smaller ones, but these were quite fine, and the workmanship on them looked good. Maybe there was a condition problem. I don't know. I didn't notice. They were drilled, which is common because they are lamps after all. One with restoration to upper portion of the neck. You don't know what the extent of it is. And one of them had a little restoration on the handles. Still, that's a very reasonable price for these. These are very pretty and very high quality. They went for $600 plus premium, so around just a little shy of $800 for the pair, $400 a piece. That seems very, very reasonable. And then we get over to the other stuff that was going on this week. This was the New England Auction Gallery down in Fred Giampetro, friend down in Branford, Connecticut. And I'd mentioned these owls a bunch of times because there's sort of as they say, not canaries, they're owls, but the canary in the coal mine as far as interest in this sort of art, because these are extremely strong visually and they were large. They were 38 inches tall. They were made around 1890 to 1900, somewhere in that window of time. They were estimated at $10,000 to $20,000. And they went way through that. I thought they were just wonderful, absolutely great examples, and you'll never find them if you go looking for them. They brought 32,000 plus premium, so they ended up coming in at around that works out to about a little over $41,000 for the pair. 41,000, and the whole sale both days. This is what I wanted to get into. The whole sale did very, very well. And we'll go through some of the lots. And when you go through and look at these, because you'll see, it's surprising to people that don't follow the American folk art and American antique decorative art market, what some of these pieces are starting to bring, and it may surprise you a little bit. For example, you have this Parcheesi board. This one here was the one that I liked the best. It was the best. I thought it was the best one, at any rate. It ended up going for $3,400 plus premium against a $2,500 high estimate. So it ended up going for about $4,000, but there were some awfully nice examples in here. And the pair of portraits that we talked about earlier, wait a minute, I think I pulled them up. So there they are, by Sheldon Peck. He was the itinerant artist who was originally from Vermont. We talked about him. He settled in Chicago, and he was very active in the Underground Railroad during the mid-19th century. And he used to travel around, and he supported himself by painting portraits. And these are two exceptional examples by him. They were estimated at $100,000 to $200,000, and they ended up selling for $140,000 plus the premium. So you're up around $90,000 for the pair. Very, very attractive, and well worth it. If you're an American collector, you know why. These are exceptional. The facial expressions are just, they both look rather startled, which is typical of a lot of Sheldon Peck's work. The people looked a little surprised all the time. Anyway, these were very, very nice, and they had hand-painted frames and were done probably around 1840 or 50. I don't know if he dated them or not. Oh, dated. There it is, dated on the back, 1849. That's right on the money. And then there was the ship's figurehead of the Native American, and did very well. I'm not that surprised. It was estimated at $8,000 to $12,000. I thought it might even do a little better than that, and it did. It ended up going for 28 plus the premium. These are hard to find. Original ones with extensive amounts of original paint are extremely difficult to find. A lot of them have been badly repainted over the years. Back in the 1920s, when people started to show an interest in these as sailing ships were sort of going out of fashion, people were scavenging the ships and pulling off off the clipper ships and so forth. They'd pull the bowsprits off of them and save them, put them in garages, and if they decided to display them usually on their front yard somewhere on a porch, they would repaint them, which diminished the value considerably to the modern antique buyer. If you're ever in Salem, Mass, you go to the Peabody Essex Museum. They have quite a collection of bowsprits from famous ships, and these would be on the front of the ship. There's a history in there's a tradition in maritime history. I don't know if you know this, from many cultures, not just America and England and France, but on the bows of ships you put something to protect the crew on board. Sometimes it's an eye. You'll see it on Mediterranean ships out of Egypt and so forth. There's an eye, a pair of eyes, the evil eye on the bow of the boat to keep away evil spirits. And you see the same in Polynesia. It's sort of one of those ubiquitous things that just, for the most part, fairly naturally evolved through maritime. And I don't think there were ever any connections, but it's just something people did to the bow of the boat. And this was a ship's figurehead. Ended up going for 28,000 plus the premium, so around about $35,000 for that. It measured 21 inches tall. It was pretty good size. Made about 1850. And then there's that Parcheesi board. 3,400 plus the premium, so around about $4,400 for it. Very nice example. And then that was just day one, or that was today, I guess. And this was day one. And there were some pretty good buys in here also. It's on some of the furniture. A couple of the furniture lots were really good buys. This Empire sofa, for example. This was a very fine mid-19th century, 1840s, 1860 sofa. I don't know if they dated it. 1840. Okay. This is a really beautiful, it's all mahogany, all hand carved, beautifully upholstered. The upholstery on this sofa, if you wouldn't have that upholstery done, this is 20th century, this is upholstery that's been done by the present owner or recent owner. But that upholstery job right there is probably about $3,000 to $4,000 roughly. Maybe more. And the sofa is beautifully made, very classical, wonderful example. Maybe New York or southern New England. I don't know if they show where it came from. They just say American, 1840. It just went for $225. That's a beautiful piece of furniture for $225. Absolutely stunning. Maybe the shipping, I don't know. And just so you know, this kind of couch is actually, for antique furniture, it's fairly comfortable to sit on. It's got a nice backrest on it. It's got bolsters on the ends, and it's very elegant. I think this furniture is ridiculously undervalued for the market. And then this was the other thing we talked about, was this a couple weeks ago when we did the preview, was this village scene from New England, New Bedford, or some town in New England, that was done scrimshawed onto a whalebone's jaw. This was the part of the jaw that they would cut out when they slaughtered whales, and they were harvesting them. They used everything on the whale. Everything. People don't realize that when they harvested a whale, virtually none of it went to waste. The baleen, the fat, the meat, the bones, everything found a use pretty much. And this was one that was obviously scrimshawed because the sailors had time on their hands fairly often when they were going from one area to another, and they would bleach these bones out or bleach these whale bones out and and ink them, decorate them. This was I thought it was a particularly good one. And the estimate I thought was very reasonable, $1,500 to $2,500. And apparently some whalebone collectors or scrimshaw collectors love this. and it ended up going for 7 plus premium, or around just about $10,000, I guess. 7, 8, 3 times, about $9,200. This was an absolutely great example, though. Absolutely great. And they also had walking sticks for captains, walking sticks, all kinds of things. You want to go through that sale and go look at some of the results. And then there was this, the Benjamin Greenleaf portrait of a lady in profile. Very stylistic, extremely well done. It was done probably, when was it done? About 1800. They didn't, yeah, okay, there it is, circa 1800. It was a style at the time with the hair done that way, the curls. But this was a very striking, a classical piece of American portraiture, beautifully done. It looked to be in great condition. Not much on the back to look at. Any rate, it went for 28,000 plus premium, or around $34,000 US. And this was not, it was not a tiny painting. It was, the frame overall size was 20 by 14 inches. So if it was in a room, you'd be inclined to notice it. But the style, this heavily, the crispness of the painting, the very stylized curls, the clothing, and the overall image is very, very appealing. For people that are collecting art from this era, and these would be itinerant artists typically, or self-taught artists. Many of them were self-taught, and this was the kind of work they did, like Sheldon Peck as well. And then there was this needlework on silk, The Landing of Columbus in America. It was estimated at just 4,000 to 6,000, went for $16,000. But the quality of the work on this was quite exceptional. And there's a famous print of this that's floating around that usually sells for 1,000 or 2. And occasionally they would silk embroider the scene. And this is all silk embroidery and maybe a little bit of pigment, but beautifully done, and did very well. A lot of interest in it. So in the end, it ended up at around $21,000 roughly. And then the final thing, we're back to the owls again. Okay, so that's it for the week. So you want a good strong antique market for Asian art. You want a good strong market, a healthy market. You don't want the prices like it was in 2008 through 2013. That was setting the stage for an impossible market, and thankfully that cooled off. Just like the American furniture market cooled off, but it's all cyclical in the antique world, and things go through, and they have their peaks, and they fall off, and they come back. And we've seen it with everything from glass collectors, Columbian, pre-Columbian pottery, old masters, prints and engravings, all that stuff. They go up and down, up and down, up and down. So the idea is to buy the dips if you're working on a budget. If you're very wealthy and you don't care, just buy it whenever you want because you like it. But some great things are probably going to come along. I think there's a couple of sales that we're hearing about that we'll let you know more in a couple of weeks. And that's it. So the Chinese market has got some nice offerings coming in the next 2 weeks. The Japanese market as well. And if there's anything else, don't forget there's the Austrian Rug Company has their sale coming up with some very good pieces as well. The Grogan sale is done. I hope some of you took part in it. And that's it. All right. So thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed here yet on YouTube, please do. We like to have new people joining. And if you have the mind to, and you want to in the new year, you want to join us over on Patreon, please do. As I said, we do a video or two over there every week, in addition to the ones that we do here. Just for those users, sort of inside a little bit. It's more inside baseball about what's going on and what I'm seeing. Sometimes I preview a few things we're going to talk about on today's video, and other things that come along as well. So it's sort of a fun thing. Any rate, in the global page, all this stuff will be on the global pages by probably tomorrow. We'll get them up there. There's a bunch to gather in and get up, and we've got to get the New England auction off of there and remove any other completed sales that have happened. Get those off. So it takes several hours to do all that. Any rate, thank you again, and we'll see you next week. All right, bye-bye.